Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye. Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight to our first story. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi today held a meeting with 6 chief ministers of states which are showing problematic numbers of rising COVID cases. Now, these states were Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra and Odisha. The Prime Minister asked the chief ministers to take proactive steps to ensure that there is no third wave or to prevent the spread of a third wave of COVID in their states. He pointed out that there is apparently a visible trend in the increase in number of cases in Maharashtra and in Kerala and said this was a cause for concern. He said that in the last 1 week, 80% of the new cases and 84% of the deaths were from the states that were present in that meeting. Meanwhile, India reported 38,949 new COVID cases. Remember, that's come up slightly. Kerala reported 13,750 cases in the last 24 hours. Now, as we had told you yesterday, the Supreme Court had given Uttar Pradesh time till Monday to respond on the matter of the cover Yatra. The Supreme Court had taken cognizance of the fact that it had read in the newspapers that while Uttarakhand had suspended the Yatra, Uttar Pradesh had decided to go ahead with it. The Supreme Court had given the state time till Monday, but we understand now that Uttar Pradesh has responded to the Supreme Court and basically said that there will be a symbolic Yatra and only devotees who are fully vaccinated will be able to participate. Now, the Cover Yatra apparently is an annual pilgrimage in which millions of citizens, mostly from North Indian states, go walking to Haridwar and back to their homes entirely on foot. Now, this is a massive yatra. And there are concerns among experts and in the Supreme Court that this might result in another super spreader event, especially given that India's vaccination numbers are still very low. Now, Justice Nariman said, and I quote in the Supreme Court, "We are all citizens of India. Article 21, which is the right to life, applies to all. Uttar Pradesh cannot go ahead with the physical yatra 100%. The Supreme Court said it was giving the state one more opportunity to reconsider, else it would pass orders. Uttar Pradesh's government lawyer told the court that the UP Disaster Management Authority is currently discussing the issue. And they've said that those who undertake the yatra must be fully vaccinated. They also said Ganga Jal will be kept at tankers at different locations. The fortnight-long yatra is scheduled to begin on the 25th of July and goes on until the first week of August. In the meantime, UNICEF has put out a very worrying report. Now, this is a report about the number of children across the world who are not fully vaccinated. And this is not about the COVID vaccine. These are the standard routine vaccinations that children are supposed to receive. Now, according to the UNICEF, India has the largest number of children anywhere in the world who are not adequately vaccinated. Now, this includes those who have not received a single dose of vaccination of any kind, and also those who have not received all their doses of vaccination. This is, rubella and the polio vaccine and all of the other vaccines that children are supposed to receive. According to UNICEF, now India has 3.5 million children who are under-vaccinated or not adequately vaccinated. And this number has gone up by 1.4 million since the pandemic began. So it's a suggestion that during the pandemic, the Indian government healthcare sector has dropped the ball on routine vaccinations. Of course, there was a reaction from the government. The government shot off a statement that read, and I quote, "There have been some media reports alleging that lakhs of Indian children have missed their routine vaccinations due to disruptions caused by COVID, which have led to a risk of increased future outbreaks and deaths. These reports are not based on facts and do not reflect the true picture. It is clarified that since the COVID outbreak, the Health Ministry has been focused on maintaining essential services, including the immunization under the Universal Immunization Program. As a result of the commitment of the Government of India and the public health workforce, the country has received 99% of the third dose of diphtheria and tetanus coverage in the first quarter of 2021. This is the highest coverage measured till date." Unfortunate news to bring to you. Pulitzer Prize-winning Indian photojournalist Danish Siddiqui was killed today when covering clashes between the Afghan security forces and the Taliban at a border crossing near Pakistan. Danish Siddiqui had been on deputation covering Afghan and Taliban clashes for Reuters over the last few days, posting regularly on his Twitter handle. In 2018, Siddiqui and his colleague Adnan Abidi became the first Indians to receive the Pulitzer Prize for photojournalism for feature photography for documenting the Rohingya refugee crisis. Siddiqui's covered a lot of very important events in our recent history in India, and his photographs over the last 2 years have become iconic of the crisis that we have gone through. You would have definitely seen them. The photographs of the Delhi riots, the photographs of the funeral pyres, and of course of the migrant crisis. Siddiqui will be missed by the fraternity. On to updates from on COVID. A new study by ICMR, which is the Indian Council for Medical Research, has found that the Delta variant, which is the variant that originated in India, was the major reason for breakthrough infections during the second wave of COVID. Now, apparently, a breakthrough infection is an infection where someone who is already vaccinated gets infected with the virus. Now, the ICMR has said 86% of the breakthrough infections were caused by the Delta variant. But it also said, and there's not enough reason to panic here, you have to hear the fine print. It also said that it mostly affected people who had only received one dose of the COVID vaccine. A study was conducted on 677 people who were infected after taking the vaccine. The death rate among vaccinated people was very, very low. So vaccination is still important in saving lives. You must remember that. The study suggested that vaccination does provide a reduction in hospital admission and mortality. So you may get the virus again, but the chances of you getting very, very sick or even dying are extremely low if you've been vaccinated. The study indicated that a majority of the clinical cases in breakthrough were infected in the Delta variant, but only 9.8%, so less than 10% needed to be hospitalized, and 0.4% of the cases of fatality was observed. The central government told the Delhi High Court today that it is very possible that a vaccine may soon be available for children between the ages of 12 and 18. The additional Solicitor General, who is one of the lawyers who represents the government of India, Chetan Sharma, told the division bench of the Delhi High Court that Zydus Cadila, which is the company that's developing DNA vaccines, has conducted trials for the 12 to 18 age group. And he said once the statutory provisions are complete, the vaccine may soon be available. The court was hearing a petition filed by a 12-year-old through her mother and a woman with an 8-year-old child, arguing that the second wave has impacted children far more than the first wave and children should be vaccinated. In other news away from COVID, in a compliance report released by WhatsApp, it says it blocked over 2 million accounts in India in just 1 month between the 15th of May and the 15th of June. The company has received 345 complaints in India in 1 month, which is a small number given the fact that it has 530 million users. WhatsApp said in its statement that we maintain advanced capabilities to identify accounts sending high number or an abnormal rate of messages, and we've banned 2 million accounts in India alone in the 1 month period in an attempt to stop this kind of abuse. According to several reports, at least 4 drones have been spotted hovering over our military installations in Jammu, Samba and Katwa districts in Jammu and Kashmir on Thursday. Drones have reportedly been spotted in the region since June 27th, when a drone was used to target the Indian Air Force base in Jammu with explosives. The explosives left 2 people injured. The June 27th attack on the Air Force station was the first of this such instance, and since then the National Investigating Agency, or the NIA, has been investigating this case. On to updates right now from the world of business. According to the Hindustan Times, in an audio message to his lawyer, Mehul Choksi has said he will not come back to India. He said, "I'm back home," and by home he means Antigua, "but this torture has left permanent scars on my psychology and physically, rather permanent scars on my soul." He went on to say that while he had been seriously considering returning to India to prove his innocence after what he claimed to be an inhumane kidnapping by Indian agencies, he is extremely apprehensive about his safety in India, and he cannot imagine coming back to India after everything that has happened. He said, I cannot imagine that after closing down my business, seizing my properties, a kidnapping attempt that has been made on me by Indian agencies. I've been hearing about it, but I never believed that they would go to this extent. Now, this comes after the Dominican High Court allowed Mehul Choksi to return to Antigua for medical treatment. Now, these are two separate countries. Mehul Choksi, who had bought himself a citizenship of Antigua when he fled India before the scam broke just in time, was suddenly went missing and was discovered by the officers and the authorities in Dominica. He then claimed that he had been kidnapped from his home by Indian secret agents who had taken him to Dominica to meet a politician. But when he did not agree to their demands, they handed him over to the other country. Ola has started now pre-bookings for its first electric scooter with a refundable deposit of 499 rupees. The price of the scooter is expected to be about 1 lakh rupees. Ola has said that customers can now pre-book their scooters and get delivery on priority. The scooter apparently will have features like 150 kilometers in a single full charge of electricity, mobile app-based access, and under-seat storage segment. Very important to keep your helmets. The announcement comes days after Ola Electric raised $100 million of long-term debt from the Bank of Baroda. Now, Ola Electric is valued at over $1 billion, has investors backing of Matrix Partners, Tiger Global, and SoftBank, among others. News coming in now from across the world. Hungary announced that it will offer its citizens a third dose of the COVID vaccine as a booster dose in August this year. It will be available to everyone, regardless of their age, health, or which vaccine they had previously taken. The government has recommended a third dose or a booster dose should be administered at least 4 months after receiving the second dose. The doctor can choose whether they want to administer the same vaccine or a different one. So this is obviously now also sort of embracing the idea of cocktail vaccines. This comes after Hungary had expressed concerns that people are not fully protected after receiving China's Sinopharm vaccine. In May, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain announced that they will offer third shots to people who received Sinopharm following concerns of insufficient development of antibodies. The European Commission has initiated legal action against Hungary and Poland over discrimination against the LGBTQI community. Now, this comes after Hungary passed a law called the Anti-Pedophilia Act, in which it prohibits people under the age of 18 to have access to information about the LGBTQI community. Human rights activists and critics have criticized the act and said that it discriminates against the LGBTQ community and it prevents teaching of sex education effectively. Poland in 2019, several Polish municipalities and regions adopted resolutions on the creation of a so-called LGBT ideology-free zone. There are 100 such regions in Poland that have pledged to refrain from acts that encourage tolerance towards homosexuality. The European Commission in a press release said Europe will never allow parts of our society to be stigmatized, be it because of whom they love, or their age, or their ethnicity, their political opinions, or their religious beliefs. Over 80 people have died and 1,300 people are missing because of heavy floods in Western Germany and Belgium, visuals that people have never seen before. It's resulted in the collapse of several houses. Rescue operations were hampered due to weak phone and internet connections. According to officials, the flooding has disrupted rail lines and shipping in the Rhine River. Netherlands, Switzerland, and Luxembourg have also been affected. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel said, and I quote, "I fear we'll only see the full extent of the disaster in the coming days. Scientists and experts say that this is definitely a result of climate change." An update now from the world of sports. The ICC today has announced the groups of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2021 will be hosted by the BCCI in Oman and the UAE from the 17th of October to the 14th of November. India is in Group 2 with Pakistan, Afghanistan, and New Zealand. England, Australia, South Africa, West Indies are in Group 1. In an interview with News 18, BCCI President Saurav Ganguly has said that it is impossible to wear a mask at all times. This comes after Rishabh Pant and a few other staff members of the Indian cricket team tested positive for COVID in England. Now, Saurav Ganguly said, and I quote, "We have recently seen European Championship and Wimbledon in England Rules have changed. They were on leave, and it is physically impossible to wear a mask all the time. End quote. The BCCI, in a press statement on Thursday, said Rishabh Pant was asymptomatic and will rejoin the squad in Durham after returning of 2 negative RT-PCR tests. And one piece of positive information before we leave you for today. The United States Senate has confirmed Indian American Seema Nanda as the Solicitor of the Department of Labor. Now, she was the former CEO of the Democratic National Committee who also served in the Department of Labor during the Obama administration. Her office will play a central role in fighting legal battles and challenges for the US government. That brings us really to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. And it's always a pleasure to bring you the news. Remember, share and like this video. The more you like and comment on it, it basically pushes it up in the algorithm, especially on YouTube, and more people can get access to this video. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.